Have you ever felt like the person you loved most in the world was hiding something so big, so dark, that it could shatter everything you thought you knew about them? I'm talking about a secret so heavy that even after they're gone, it lingers like a ghost, haunting every corner of your life, unraveling the very foundation of your family. My name is Claire, and I'm about to take you on a journey through the pain, confusion, and desperate longing I've been wrestling with since my mother passed away 2 years ago, leaving behind a mystery I can't solve. A secret that's driving a wedge between me and the only family I have left. If you've ever lost someone and found yourself questioning who they really were, or if you've ever felt the weight of a truth you're not sure you want to uncover, stay with me. This isn't just about a hidden past. It's about love, betrayal, and the aching question of whether some secrets are better left buried. I'm 29 now, sitting in my dimly lit living room in a small town just outside Savannah, Georgia, with the humid night air seeping through the cracked window and the faint hum of crickets outside. I've got a worn-out photo of my mom on the coffee table in front of me, her warm brown eyes staring back at me like they're trying to tell me something I'll never hear. There's a glass of sweet tea beside me, untouched, because my stomach's been in knots for weeks, ever since I stumbled upon something that changed everything. If you've ever felt like your past is a puzzle with missing pieces, or if you've ever wondered how far you'd go to uncover the truth, even if it might destroy you, then you'll get why I need to share this. Let's go back to where it all started, to a sticky southern summer in a house full of laughter and lies, where I thought I knew my mother, until I realized I didn't know her at all. I grew up in a modest clapboard house on the outskirts of Savannah, where the moss hangs heavy on ancient oaks, and the air always carries the scent of marsh and magnolias. My childhood was a patchwork of simple joys, running barefoot through the backyard with my older brother, Travis, catching fireflies in mason jars, and listening to the rhythmic creak of the porch swing as Mom hummed old gospel tunes under her breath. My mom, Evelyn, was the heart of our home, a woman with a quiet strength and a smile that could melt away any worry. She was a schoolteacher, loved by everyone in our tight-knit community, always baking extra pies for church potlucks or helping neighbors with their gardens. Dad passed when I was just 5, a car accident that left a hole in our family, but Mom held us together, her love a steady anchor in a world that felt unsteady. Travis and I leaned on her for everything, and even as we grew up, she was our rock, the one person we could always count on. But beneath her warmth, there was always something I couldn't quite place. A shadow in her eyes when she thought no one was looking, a hesitation in her voice when certain topics came up, like her life before she met Dad. She'd brush off questions about her past with a quick laugh or a change of subject, saying things like, "Oh, honey, that was a lifetime ago," or "Some stories aren't worth retelling." As a kid, I didn't think much of it. I figured everyone had parts of their life they didn't want to revisit, especially after losing someone like she'd lost Dad. But as I got older, I started to notice the little inconsistencies. How she'd tense up when old friends from out of town visited, how she kept a locked box in her closet that she never let us near, how sometimes, late at night, I'd hear her crying softly behind her bedroom door. I'd ask Travis about it, but he'd just shrug, saying Mom had her reasons, and we should respect her privacy. I tried to, but that curiosity, that nagging feeling that there was more to her story, never really went away. Travis and I were close growing up, despite our differences. He's 3 years older, a burly guy with a quick temper but a heart of gold, always protective of me in that big brother way. I was the quieter one, more introspective, always scribbling in journals or losing myself in books, dreaming of a life beyond the sleepy streets of our town. We'd bicker, sure, over silly things like who got the last slice of Mom's pecan pie or whose turn it was to mow the lawn, but we always had each other's backs. When Mom got sick with cancer 5 years ago, it was Travis and I who took turns driving her to chemo in Savannah, sitting with her through long, silent nights in the hospital, holding her hand as she fought with everything she had. She beat it, for a while, and those years of remission felt like a gift, a second chance to soak up every moment with her. But 2 years ago, the cancer came back, aggressive and unstoppable, and within 6 months, she was gone. I was 27 then, Travis 30, and losing her felt like losing the ground beneath our feet. We stood together at her graveside, under a gray November sky, promising each other we'd stay close, that we'd honor her memory by keeping our family, however small, together. Her death left a void I didn't know how to fill. I'd moved out by then, renting a little place closer to downtown Savannah where I worked as a librarian, a job that suited my love of stories and quiet. Travis stayed in the old house, taking over the mortgage and working as a mechanic at a local garage. We'd meet up for Sunday dinners, trying to keep some semblance of normalcy, but it wasn't the same without Mom's laughter filling the room, without her stories or her gentle way of smoothing over any tension. I'd walk through the house sometimes, touching the faded floral curtains she'd sewn herself, smelling the faint trace of her lavender perfume still lingering in her bedroom, and feel this ache so deep it was like a physical pain. I missed her every day, but I also started to feel that old curiosity creeping back, stronger now that she wasn't here to deflect my questions. What had she been hiding? Why had she kept parts of herself locked away from us? her own children. The unexpected turn came about a month ago, on a humid Saturday afternoon when I was helping Travis clean out the attic of the old house. We were sorting through boxes of Christmas decorations, old school projects, and Mom's teaching supplies, laughing over faded Polaroids and dusty report cards. It was one of those rare moments where it felt like we were kids again, bonded by memory, not just grief. Then I found it. A small, locked metal box tucked behind a stack of old textbooks, the same one I'd seen in her closet as a kid. My heart skipped a beat, a mix of excitement and dread washing over me. I held it up to Travis, asking if he knew what it was, but he just frowned, shaking his head, saying he'd never seen it before. The lock was rusted, but with a little effort and a screwdriver, we pried it open, both of us holding our breath like we were about to uncover buried treasure, or a curse. Inside were letters, dozens of them, yellowed with age, tied together with a faded blue ribbon. There were also a few photographs, grainy and worn, of a young woman who looked like Mom, but somehow different, harder, sadder, standing beside a man I didn't recognize, not Dad. My hands trembled as I unfolded the first letter, dated over 35 years ago, addressed to Evie, in a jagged, unfamiliar handwriting. The words hit me like a punch. I know you think running away will fix everything, but you can't escape what we did. I'll find you, no matter where you go. My stomach churned as I read on, piecing together fragments of a story I couldn't fully grasp, references to a mistake, a dead ode, and a plea to come back before it's too late. Travis, reading over my shoulder, went pale, his jaw tight, muttering under his breath that this couldn't be real, that there had to be some explanation. But the more letters we read, the clearer it became. Mom had been running from something, or someone, long before she met Dad, long before we were born. The emotional conflict that erupted between Travis and me in that dusty attic was like a dam breaking, years of unspoken tension and grief pouring out. I wanted to know more, to dig deeper, to understand who Mom really was and what she'd been hiding. I felt betrayed, almost angry, that she'd kept this from us, that she'd let us believe her life was an open book when it was anything but. I sat there on the attic floor, surrounded by cobwebs and childhood relics, clutching those letters like they were a lifeline, or maybe a weapon. I kept thinking about all the times I'd asked her about her past, all the times she'd smiled and changed the subject, and now I wondered if that smile had been a mask, hiding fear or shame or something worse. Had I ever really known her? Had her love for us been real, or just part of the facade she'd built to protect herself? Travis, on the other hand, wanted nothing to do with it. He snapped at me to put the box away, to leave it alone, saying that whatever Mom had done, whatever she'd run from, didn't matter now. She's gone, Claire, he growled, his voice thick with emotion. She was a good mom to us. Why can't you just let her rest in peace? I could see the pain in his eyes, the fear that digging into this would taint every memory we had of her, but I couldn't let it go. I felt like I owed it to myself, to us, to find out the truth, even if it hurt. We argued for hours that day, our voices echoing in the empty house, until he stormed out, leaving me alone with the box and 1,000 questions. I felt torn in two. Part of me aching to protect the image of Mom I'd always held dear, the other part burning with a need to know, to understand why she'd lived her life in the shadow of this secret. That night, I took the box home with me, unable to leave it behind, even though Travis had begged me to. I spread the letters out on my kitchen table, under the harsh glow of a single bulb, reading and rereading every word, trying to piece together the puzzle. The man in the letters, his name was Daniel, though I didn't know if that was real or a code, seemed to have some kind of hold over Mom, something tied to a past she'd fled from. There were hints of a shared history, maybe a crime, maybe a betrayal, though nothing was explicit. The photographs didn't help much either, just blurry images of Mom and this man, sometimes with others I didn't recognize, in places I couldn't identify. One photo showed her holding a baby, not me or Travis, a child with dark hair and solemn eyes, and my heart stopped. Who was this? Did Mom have another child, a life before us she'd erased? The thought made me dizzy, a mix of betrayal and longing washing over me. I wanted to ask her, to hear her voice explain it all, but she was gone, and all I had were these cryptic fragments of a story I wasn't sure I wanted to finish. Over the next few weeks, I became obsessed, spending every free moment researching, trying to track down names or places mentioned in the letters. I scoured online databases, old newspaper archives, even reached out to distant relatives Mom hadn't spoken to in years, but I hit dead end after dead end. The more I dug, the more isolated I felt. Travis refused to talk about it, ignoring my calls, sending curt texts saying he didn't want to drag up the past. I could feel the rift between us growing, a chasm I didn't know how to bridge. I'd lie awake at night in my tiny apartment, the ceiling fan creaking above me, replaying memories of Mom, her hands kneading dough in the kitchen, her soft voice reading bedtime stories, the way she'd hug me tight after a bad day, and wonder if any of it had been real. Had she loved us, or had we just been part of her escape, a new identity to hide behind? The doubt gnawed at me, eating away at the grief I'd thought I was starting to heal from. replacing it with something uglier, something like resentment. I also started reflecting on my own life, on why this secret mattered so much to me. I've always been someone who craves answers, who needs to understand the why behind everything. Maybe because so much of my life has felt out of control. Dad's death when I was so young, Mom's illness, the way I've struggled to build a life that feels meaningful. I've dated here and there, but nothing's stuck. Maybe because I've always been afraid of losing someone again, of loving too hard only to have it taken away. Digging into Mom's past felt like a way to reclaim some control, to make sense of the chaos, but it was also tearing me apart. I'd sit on my couch, staring at the Spanish moss swaying outside my window, and feel this crushing loneliness, like I was losing not just Mom all over again, but Travis too. I remembered the promise we'd made at her funeral, to stick together, and now I wondered if I'd broken it by pushing too hard, by refusing to let sleeping dogs lie. The deeper I went, the more I uncovered small, unsettling clues that only raised more questions. One letter mentioned a town in Alabama, a place called Millhaven, where Mom might have lived before coming to Georgia. I found an old obituary online for a Daniel Harper who died in a car accident there in the late 80s, around the time the letters stopped, but I couldn't confirm if it was the same man. I even drove to Millhaven one weekend, a 6-hour trip each way, wandering through a dusty library and talking to locals who barely remembered a young woman named Evelyn passing through decades ago. Every lead felt like a tease, a breadcrumb leading nowhere, and yet I couldn't stop. I felt like I was chasing a ghost, not just of Mom, but of the person I thought I was, the daughter who'd grown up believing in a perfect, uncomplicated love. Now, I wasn't sure what to believe. The emotional toll was heavier than I'd expected. I'd cry in my car after another fruitless search, the steering wheel slick with my tears, feeling like a fool for caring so much about something I might never understand. I'd dream of Mom, vivid, haunting dreams where she'd stand just out of reach, her face sad and pleading, as if she wanted to tell me something but couldn't. I'd wake up gasping, my heart racing, reaching for the empty space beside me, wishing I could talk to her just one more time. I started to question if Travis was right, if I was destroying myself and our family by refusing to let this go. But then I'd look at that photo of her with the unknown baby, or reread a line from a letter about the debt we owe, and the need to know would flare up again, a fire I couldn't extinguish. I felt stuck, caught between honoring Mom's memory and uncovering her truth, between preserving my bond with Travis and following my own desperate need for closure. Now, sitting here in the quiet of my apartment, with the weight of those letters still heavy on my mind, I'm at a crossroads I don't know how to navigate. Travis and I are barely speaking. Our Sunday dinner's a thing of the past, and I can feel the distance between us growing into something permanent. I've got a lead on a woman in Alabama who might have known Mom back then, someone who responded to an email I sent with a vague promise to talk soon. But I don't know if I should follow it, if I'm ready for whatever I might find. What if the truth is worse than I imagine? What if Mom did something unforgivable? Or what if this Daniel hurt her in ways I can't bear to think about? But then, what if I stop looking, and I spend the rest of my life wondering, haunted by the not knowing? I've also got a family reunion coming up in a few weeks, a chance to see Travis face to face, maybe to mend things. But I'm terrified of what he'll say, or if he'll even want me there after all this. I keep thinking about Mom's last days, when she was so weak, her hand frail in mine as she whispered that she loved us, that she'd always tried to do right by us. I believed her then, with every fiber of my being, but now I wonder if there was more she wanted to say, if she took this secret to her grave because she thought it would protect us, or because she was ashamed. I look at her photo, at the smile I thought I knew so well, and feel this mix of love and anger, longing and betrayal, all tangled up inside me. I want to remember her as the woman who raised me, who loved me through every storm, but I can't shake the feeling that there's a whole other side to her I'll never understand unless I keep searching. To anyone out there listening, I'm pouring my heart out, hoping for some kind of clarity, some guidance through this mess I've stumbled into. Have you ever uncovered a family secret that changed everything? Did you keep digging, even when it hurt, or did you let it go for the sake of peace? I'm torn between the love I have for my mom's memory and the need to know who she really was, between saving my relationship with Travis and following this path, wherever it leads. I don't know if I'm strong enough to face the truth, or if I'm brave enough to walk away from it. What would you do if you were me? Should I keep searching, even if it means losing more than I've already lost? Or should I bury this box and try to rebuild what's left of my family? I'm standing on the edge of something I can't see the end of, and I'm so afraid of what comes next, but I'm even more afraid of never knowing. Tell me, what should I do?